could you briefly sketch, and maybe not briefly, why especially the focus on these endeavors, and where do you see the ripple effects taking place, and also maybe where they are standing and what support do they need?
Well, fundamentally, I got involved in technology around the idea of maximum impact. And I just had an understanding that if the majority of people are in a kind of fear-oriented desperation around money and capitalism, that it isn't possible for them to have expansion in consciousness, because that day-to-day living, and that's the way everyone was in the Amazon, just requires you to live hand to mouth, to make the next day's coin, to be able to spend it all that same day, and that there needed to be ultimately inroads into finance and business that could help shift this idea of how money was distributed and how people made a living. And I saw in the developing nations, there was an unbelievable expansion of the use of technology. Literally any way people could use technology to help make money, they were doing it. And so I thought, okay, let's not look at that in 5 years. Let's look at that in 20 years, 40 years, 60 years. The developing nations are going to become technologically the most advanced nations in terms of the use of the technology, maybe not the creation of it, but the use of that technology. And so now take that idea and wind that back to this exploration inside these visionary realms. What I ultimately came to realize was that the sacred geometry and these patterns that are being seen and the visions that people are having is ultimately a kind of linguistics. And I got really interested in the linguistics of the visions themselves. We would use these chants called ikuro in the ceremony. They create catalyst for change and healing. They create connection of different kinds of energy, and it's palpable, it's visual. So I came to ultimately understand that literally higher dimensional thinking, like in the terms of math, like dimension 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, could be codified in the visionary realms through an advancement in linguistics. And so I started to create that linguistics to be able to codify that. That became a kind of a nexus between blockchain-based Web3 oriented computer systems, which were really a combination of people, computers, and fiber optics and satellites from around the world. If you could envision that, like kind of go into outer space and envision all of that at the same time, you would see a much higher expression of dimensionality around human interaction, communication, and connection about how it was really taking place. And then if you got really into the light, like into the quantum of the fiber optics themselves, and how that living network was actually, living, breathing, creating, growing, and how it was expressing new distribution of thought, new distribution of innovation and creativity, I thought that was a very pliable, very elastic form of technology to be able to try to make this greater impact. And so that's when I got really interested in Web3, smart contracts, NFTs, ERC20 tokens as a way of distributing wealth through the nature of those networks, and started to innovate in that space. So I actually, from my community, tried to get together what I thought were the brightest minds and most innovative thinkers from all different verticals, from education and the economy, to get together. So finance, CEOs, business owners, startup guys, scientists, quantum physicists, mathematicians, et cetera. I got chemists. I got everybody together that we could, and just said, okay, let's go into vision and see what we can come up with. And the first project that we came up with was to unlock the value of creativity. And so we got really interested in the creator economy and the idea of the value of creativity. And I just had a economic thesis that the amount of restricted creativity was actually worth more than the creativity that was being used in the markets today. So the excluded creativity that you'll never see in the market because it's excluded is actually worth more than the probably 50 to hundreds of trillions of dollars of global market of creativity that's actually going into the markets of the $4 quadrillion economy. And so I just said, wow, okay, we need to find a way to harness this creativity and provide value to this creativity. And so as a think tank, we started to muse on that, and we created a number of models, and those models are now in their final stage of coding and getting ready to be released. And we're just looking for the appropriate times to bring them to market.